You know that quiet ache you feel, the one that shows up when you think about all the things you've tried to manifest, and how little actually changed. I'm not judging you, I'm speaking to you the way I once had to speak to myself, because I remember sitting there, late at night, surrounded by journals filled with affirmations, vision boards taped to the wall like portals to a life just out of reach, subliminals humming in my headphones, and yet, nothing in my real world felt any different. Maybe you know that feeling too, that strange mix of hope and exhaustion you visualize, you script, you trust the process. You tell yourself the universe is working on it. You repeat the mantras, you count the signs, you wait and wait and wait. But deep down in a place you don't talk about out loud, you whisper to yourself, why does it still feel so far away? That's the part of you I'm speaking to now, the part that's tired of almost. Almost there, almost ready, almost worthy. You've lived so long in the land of almost that even your dreams begin to feel like distant reflections. Close enough to imagine, too far to touch. And so you do what you were taught to do. You try harder, more journaling, more techniques, more spiritual homework. As if the universe is some slow-moving delivery service and you just haven't refreshed the tracking page enough times. But let me tell you something, gently, softly, so it can land where it needs to land. Your manifestation isn't slow because you're doing it wrong. It feels slow because of the story you've been living inside without realizing it. A story that says, what I want isn't here yet. I need to work toward it. I need more time. I need to keep becoming. And at first glance, that story sounds responsible, mature, even spiritual. But quietly, almost invisibly, it pulls you out of your power. Because the moment you place what you desire in the future, you've confessed, even if silently, that it does not belong to your now. And every time you sit to manifest from that energy, you're rehearsing the same identity. The one who's still on the way, still waiting, still not there. On the surface you say, I am abundant. But underneath, in your breath, your posture, your nervous system, the truth sounds more like, I will be abundant, eventually. And the field doesn't listen to the words on your page. It listens to the frequency in your body. Not the 5 minutes of forced positivity in the morning, but the 23 hours and 55 minutes where your baseline signal whispers, not yet. That signal is why things feel stuck, not because you're blocked, not because the universe is testing you, but because life, with perfect accuracy, keeps mirroring the vibration you return to most, more waiting. More almost, more timelines where you can see the dream, but somehow keep standing just outside it. And that pattern won't break just by trying harder. It breaks the moment you question the entire framework, the moment you stop asking, what else do I need to do? And start asking, what if it never needed to take time at all? Because here's the truth, soft, simple, and wildly different from what you've been taught. You were never meant to chase your reality. You were meant to collapse into the one that already matches who you're being right now. The speed was never in the effort. The speed was always in the alignment. And until you see that, you'll keep treating your future like a destination. When in quantum terms, it's more like a frequency already broadcasting beside you. The real question is gentle but precise. Are you tuned to the version of you who is waiting, or the one where it's already done? There's a tricky thing happening underneath your spiritual work. something so quiet, so subtle that most people never notice it. It hides inside the way you think, the way you hope, the way you try to stay positive, and if you don't see it, you'll spend years chasing a reality that was never running away from you in the first place. Let's slow down for a moment, really slow down, so this can land. Because the assumption I'm about to name is the very reason manifestation feels slow, effortful, and painfully distant. Here it is, simple, but sharp. What I want is not here yet. Sit with that. Feel how familiar it sounds, how normal, how it hides inside almost every spiritual teaching you've been given. Whether it comes wrapped in trust divine timing, your blessing is on the way, or just keep doing the work. It all points to the same quiet belief. You're here. And what you want is somewhere else. And because it's somewhere else, you tell yourself you must travel toward it, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. As if reality is a mountain you climb with enough discipline. But here's the thing you were never told. Quantum reality doesn't operate on distance. It doesn't wait for you to arrive. It doesn't withhold anything from you until you've done enough, or healed enough, or become enough. The quantum field mirrors one thing only, the frequency you stabilize right now. So the moment you label your desire as not here yet, you collapse yourself into a timeline where it isn't here yet. Not because you're unworthy, not because the universe is slow, but because you're observing a version of yourself who's still waiting. And the field reflects that, with perfect, almost ruthless accuracy. Think about how often you've done this without realizing it. When you visualize from a place of longing, you're not embodying the version who has it. You're amplifying the version who lacks it. When you say, "It's coming," you're admitting, "It's not here." When you pray for a breakthrough, you're declaring you haven't reached it. Every hopeful moment, every future-based affirmation, every one day sounds spiritual on the surface, but vibrationally, omilom, they're all saying the same thing. I don't have it. And your body listens. Your nervous system aligns, your field broadcasts it, and reality collapses accordingly. Not to punish you, to match you. That's the misunderstanding most people never escape. They think manifestation is about convincing reality to bring something to them. But in quantum terms, you're never convincing reality. You're choosing which version of you is broadcasting right now. That's why effort slows everything down. Effort says I'm trying, and trying says I'm not there yet. It's a loop, a subtle emotional loop that keeps feeding the very timeline you're trying to escape. And when you finally see it, really see it, something inside you softens because the problem was never your desire. It was never your worthiness. It was never that timing wasn't right. It was the identity you kept energizing without knowing you were doing it. The identity of the one who waits, the one who hopes, the one who reaches, the one who believes the future is still somewhere ahead. But there's another version of you, one you've felt in flashes, in intuition, in those quiet moments where your chest opens and your breath steadies, a version that doesn't try. Because they already are. And the moment you start observing that version, even for a second, something shifts. The gap dissolves, the distance disappears. And reality begins to reorganize itself, not slowly but instantly, because you stop telling the field to wait with you. There's a moment right after you notice the hidden assumption, when something inside you begins to question everything you thought you knew about how reality works. It feels almost like waking up from a dream you didn't realize you were in. A subtle widening in the chest. A soft rearranging in your awareness, as if some part of you whispers, if distance was never real, then what exactly have I been waiting for? Let that question open a little more. Let it breathe. Because this is where reality starts to shift. You've been taught your whole life to think of manifestation as a journey, a forward motion, a gradual unfolding, a timeline you walk through like a hallway full of doors that only open once you've done enough. But the quantum field doesn't work like that. Not even close. Time, the thing you've been measuring, chasing, begging, praying into, is not the delivery driver of your dreams. It's not bringing anything to you. It's not holding anything from you. It's not slow or late or divine or perfect. Time is a mirror, a perfect one. Whatever you broadcast consistently is what it reflects back, not because you earned it, but because it cannot do anything else. Pause with that, feel the precision of it, the neutrality of it, almost like physics, because that's exactly what it is. Every moment you feel lack, time reflects more lack. Every moment you feel almost, time stretches almost further. Every moment you feel separation, time expands the distance because distance is the story you're vibrating in. And the story you vibrate in becomes the timeline you collapse into form. This is why it all felt slow. Not because life was working behind the scenes, but because you were energizing the version of you who still believed it had to take time. You weren't moving toward your desire. You were rehearsing the identity of the one who waits. And time, faithful as ever, mirrored that identity back again, and again, and again, until you started thinking slowness was normal, or spiritual, or part of the process. But in quantum reality, there is no process. No ladder, no timeline to climb, only coherence, only alignment, only the frequency you stabilize in the quietest corners of your being. Let me put it simply, in a way your body can understand. The more you try, the more you declare, this is not yet mine. And the field listens, instantly, impersonally, without judgment. Because the quantum field doesn't respond to your intentions. It doesn't respond to your vision boards. It doesn't respond to the hours you've spent trying to be positive. It responds to your now signal, the emotional frequency you broadcast when you're not performing, not hoping, not pretending. Just being. If that signal is longing, it mirrors longing. If that signal is effort, it mirrors effort. If that signal is waiting, it mirrors waiting, not to hurt you, not to test you, but because that is how reality collapses, clean, obedient, precise. And here's the part most people never hear, the part that quietly liberates you from every spiritual technique you thought you needed. Reality doesn't respond slowly, it responds instantly. It's you who broadcasts inconsistently. When your inner world becomes identical to the timeline you desire, the field has no choice but to organize itself around that frequency, not tomorrow, not someday, now. Because the collapse happens in now, only now, always now. So the question is no longer, how do I get there, or how long will it take? The real question, the only question, is this. What am I broadcasting right now? And does it match the world I say I want? Because when it matches, even for a moment, time stops being something you wait through. It becomes something you step out of. and the future you've been chasing starts folding itself into you with a speed that feels less like magic and more like remembering. There's something you've suspected for a long time, something you felt in quiet moments even if no one ever explained it to you. It's the sense that your thoughts alone aren't enough, that no matter how many times you repeat an affirmation, or rewrite a desire in your journal, or picture it vividly behind closed eyes, something still doesn't click. And for years you may have blamed yourself for that. Not disciplined enough, not focused enough, not spiritual enough, not high vibe enough. But the truth is simpler and deeper and far more honest than all of that. Reality doesn't speak in thoughts, it speaks in emotion. Emotion is not the reaction to manifestation. Emotion is the mechanism of manifestation. It is the signal, the frequency, the instruction. Your thoughts may set the direction, but your emotions provide the voltage. No voltage, no signal, no collapse. Let that sink in. Let it soften something inside you. Because for the first time you begin to see why things felt so slow. It's not that you didn't think positively enough, it's that your body was still broadcasting the old story. Your nervous system is honest like that, brutally honest. It doesn't pretend. It doesn't lie with you if you tell yourself you're abundant but your chest tightens every time you check your bank account. Your nervous system chooses the tighter truth. If you visualize love in meditation but your body still expects abandonment, your nervous system chooses the loneliness it recognizes. If you speak confidence into the mirror but your breath is shallow and your voice trembles just a little, your nervous system broadcasts the tremble, not the words. That's why the field responds to your dominant emotional state, not your scripted intention. Emotion is the carrier wave. Emotion is the broadcast. Emotion is the collapse. And here's the part that changes everything. You are not at the mercy of your emotions. You are not waiting for something to happen so you can finally feel the way you want to feel. Emotion is a choice, a creation, a frequency you generate, not a reward you receive. It's not about faking. It's not about acting. It's not about pretending to be happy when you feel anything but. It's about alignment, congruence, honesty. The honest frequency of the version of you who already has what you're calling in. Because that version doesn't just think differently. They breathe differently, they walk differently, they speak with a steadiness you can feel in your bones. Their body is relaxed, their chest open, their nervous system unguarded, not because everything around them is perfect, but because they no longer live in the frequency of waiting. When you choose to feel from that version of yourself, before the evidence, before the outcome, before the confirmation, the field has no choice but to mirror that coherence. A single moment of sincere gratitude can collapse more reality than weeks of mental repetition. A single breath taken in full trust can open a timeline no amount of effort could ever reach. Emotion is the language of collapse because emotion is the proof your body believes the signal. And manifestation doesn't respond to what you hope is true. It responds to what your body has already accepted as true. So the question is no longer, what do I want, or what do I think about most? The real question, the quantum question, is this: what emotion belongs to the version of me who already lives in that reality? And am I willing to feel it now? Not perform it, not imitate it, not force it, feel it, generate it, stabilize it. Because the moment your emotional baseline matches the future you want, the field can no longer tell the difference between what you're imagining and what's already here. And when the field can't tell the difference, reality collapses fast. There's a point on this journey where you stop looking at your thoughts, and you start paying attention to something far quieter, far older, far more honest than your mind: your body. Because you can tell yourself whatever story you want. You can script the affirmations, you can chant the mantras, you can visualize until your eyelids flutter. But your body always tells the truth. It tells the truth in the way your shoulders sit, in the way your breath moves, in the way your voice vibrates when you speak your desires out loud. It tells the truth in the subtle tremble beneath your ribs when you imagine a bigger life. It tells the truth in the way you hold yourself when no one is watching. Your body is the antenna, not the mind, not the journal, not the vision board. Your body, your posture, your breath, your tone, your micro-expressions. All of it is broadcasting a signal long before your thoughts finish forming the words. And the quantum field doesn't listen to your sentences. It listens to your signal. Think about that for a moment. Let it sink beneath the surface of your thinking mind. You can say, "I am confident." But if your chest is collapsed, your jaw is tight, your breath is shallow, your nervous system is whispering a much different story. You can say, "I am abundant." But if your stomach knots when you open your bank app, the field hears the knot. You can say, "I am loved." But if your body braces for disappointment every time something good appears, the field reads the brace, not the hope. This is why so many people feel like they're doing everything right and nothing moves. Because their mind is manifesting one timeline, while their body is anchoring another, and the body always wins. Always. Because emotion lives in the body, and emotion, not thought, is the language the field obeys. But here's the shift, the liberation, the part that turns everything inside out. Embodiment is not about acting. It's not about pretending to be the future you in some forced performance. It's not about fake it till you make it. Embodiment is present stillness, a decision to feel, in your spine, in your breath, in your heart. The version of you who already holds the life you're calling in, not imagining it, not hoping for it, becoming it. You can feel the difference instantly. Close your eyes for a moment and picture the version of you whose reality you desire. Notice how they breathe, slow, even, unhurried. Notice how they sit in their body, open, grounded, unafraid. Notice the quiet confidence in their chest, not loud, not cocky, but steady. That version of you isn't trying. They're not pushing, they're not gripping, they're not waiting to feel safe or worthy or chosen. They already are. When you start to embody that version, not in thought, not in fantasy, but in your physical, palpable state, the field feels it, it recognizes it. It reorganizes around it, because embodiment is vibrational truth, and truth collapses reality faster than effort ever could. This is entrainment, a principle in physics where the stronger, more stable frequency pulls the weaker frequency into sync. When you embody your chosen timeline, you become the dominant frequency, and your external world, your relationships, your opportunities, your finances, your luck, your synchronicities, all begin to shift because they have no choice but to sync with the version of you who is broadcasting with coherence. This is why things move fast when embodiment clicks. not because you forced the universe to respond, but because your signal became clean enough for the field to follow without interference. And here's the part no one tells you. You stop needing signs, you stop needing reassurance, you stop needing proof. Because the proof lives in your body, your breath becomes the evidence. Your state becomes the confirmation. Your alignment becomes the magnetism. You're no longer waiting for the timeline, you're living from it. And every second you remain in that embodied frequency is a second the field stabilizes around you, pulling the physical world into coherence with your inner truth. This is the end of hoping, the end of chasing, the end of being almost. This is embodiment, the fastest form of creation you'll ever know. There comes a moment, a quiet, almost invisible moment, where everything you've been learning stops being an idea and starts becoming a frequency inside your body. It rarely happens the way people expect. It doesn't arrive with fireworks or angel numbers or some dramatic cosmic announcement. It slips in softly, like a tide rising behind you without asking for permission. It shows up in the way your breath steadies for no obvious reason, or the way your chest feels just a little more open even though nothing outside has changed, or the way your choices begin to emerge from a place that feels deeper than thought and calmer than effort. This is the beginning of the pull. You're not pushing anymore. You're not chasing anymore. You're not trying to drag your future toward you with discipline or visualization or spiritual strategy. Instead, you feel something subtle, something intelligent, something unmistakably familiar pulling you forward with a kind of quiet authority. The future you've been trying to reach is no longer ahead of you. It's around you. It's beneath you. It's already imprinted into your field like a memory returning rather than a desire forming. And in that moment you realize something profound. You were never walking toward your future. Your future was always collapsing into you. It happens the second your signal becomes clean. When your thoughts stop contradicting your emotions, when your emotions stop contradicting your body, when your body stops contradicting your identity, coherence, alignment, singularity. And when those layers finally line up, even for a heartbeat, the collapse begins. Not slowly, not gently, not over time, instantly. Because the collapse is not about effort, it's about matching. And the moment you match the frequency of a timeline, the field cannot delay. It cannot hesitate. It cannot give you almost. It must reorganize itself around the version of you who is already living that truth. This is the collapse moment. The moment the wave becomes particle, the potential becomes form, the future becomes memory. You don't force it. You allow it. You don't chase it. You embody it. You don't wait for signs. You become the sign. And when the collapse happens, something strange occurs. The desire you once obsessed over stops feeling like a desire. It stops buzzing with urgency. It stops pulling at your attention like a loose thread. It feels natural, obvious, already done. Not because the world outside changed instantly, but because you did. And the external world is just catching up to match the internal reality you finally stabilized. This is what the old you never understood. The one who hoped and waited and counted days like they were proof of progress. Time was never the proof. Emotion was. Embodiment was, identity was, and now you feel it. You're not the seeker anymore. You're not the one standing in the waiting room of your own life. You've become the receiver. The conductor, the chooser, the version of you who once tried so hard to manifest the future is no longer the one running the show. That identity dissolves softly, cleanly, like a shadow that disappears the moment you turn toward the light. What remains is the version of you who was always meant to emerge. The one who doesn't create from lack, but from resonance. Not from pressure, but from clarity. Not from effort, but from coherence. This is not the end of your story. This is the doorway, the beginning. Because once the collapse happens, your reality opens into a wider field of possibility. One you don't navigate with strategy, but with alignment. One you don't force into existence, but respond to. Moment by moment, as it pulls you deeper into the timeline you were always designed to live, and the only thing left to ask yourself now, in this breath, in this stillness, in this new coherence you've stepped into is, if the future is already collapsing into me, what version of myself do I choose to hold steady from this moment on? Because that version, the one you choose right now, is the timeline that becomes your world.